Well, welcome to ToK today, and today we have an introduction to AoK The Arts. I believe that success in ToK is based on feeling positive about the subject and learning skills. If we put positive emotions with good skills, we'll get happy and successful ToK students. So in this video today, I'm going to first of all talk about the content involved in this lesson, then I'm going to talk about the skills involved in the lesson, and then I'm going to actually explain the lesson. So those of you who want to skip over the skills and the content and just get to the lesson, I'll put a link in the video description to that part of the video. Okay, let's get on and get into the content involved in this lesson. The most interesting part of AoK The Arts, I think, in comparison to other areas of knowledge, is the relationship between the knowledge producer and the knower. So this lesson starts to develop the skills to look at that relationship. This takes us into the relationship between the artist and the audience, ideas around connotation of knowledge and denotation of knowledge, the classification and categorization of artistic knowledge, the function of artistic knowledge, like what's the point of it, and the value of artistic knowledge and its attribution. So those 5 areas, those 5 ideas, really cover a lot of the main ideas that come up when students are discussing AoK The Arts. They don't need to go away and read big long tracts about the production of art. They're just going to have a critical view of these 5 ideas within area of knowledge, the arts. So let's get into the skills that are required in this lesson. I'm a huge advocate for developing ToK skills, and you know I love my ToK skills map. And we're taking from that map 3 big skills, which are knowledge characteristics, knowledge issues, and interpretation. And under each one of those areas, we can look at sort of sub-skills, sort of knowledge characteristics. It's identifying the knowledge characteristics arising from an object. From knowledge issues, it's identifying the knowledge issues arising from an object. And from interpretation, it's how we extrapolate principles from an example. And together they combine to enable the students to extrapolate knowledge construction methodologies which underpin objects. Now, we'll get into those a bit more when we actually look at the lesson process. But the lesson process takes those very abstract looking skills and develops them as straightforward and clear activities. Let's get on to the lesson process. So the lesson process here is contained as a PowerPoint that you can use in the lesson. It's linked on the ToK Today post for this video, and you can download it for free and just use it straight away in your lesson from there. So we start by showing the students these pictures from an artist lesson to name the artist. Not that important really, but the artist is Mondrian. And what we're going to ask them to do is to think of an emotion and write that on the back of a piece of paper. And then we're going to give them 7.5 minutes to create a Mondrian style picture painting which represents that emotion. So I just give them some felt tip pens and a piece of paper, and they have 7.5 minutes to quickly come up with Mondrian style drawing of that emotion. No symbols or words in the pictures, and anonymize the pictures. The next step is that we put the pictures on the wall and we label them A to Z. We then have an art exhibition where all the students look at each other's work, and we ask them to write down the emotion that they think that each picture was representing, which picture they like the most, why they like that picture, and which picture they thought most expressed the artist's emotion. So we're getting into some of those skills about identifying knowledge characteristics and knowledge issues, and being able to extrapolate principles from an object, but we're doing it in a really non-threatening, really easy way. Okay, once they've got through that bit, I would then put them into group work so that they're sharing their ideas, and we're going to go through some of those main big ideas. So the first thing is around connotation and denotation. And we've got 2 very straightforward questions for them here, whether they guess the emotion of each piece correctly, and then the bigger ToK question is about who decides the meaning of artistic knowledge, the artist or the audience. So here we're helping them to develop that skill to move from their lived world experience into the ToK world, one of my favourite things in ToK. And this is a simple question, a simple little exercise here, which helps them to move from their lived world, their real world, into the ToK world. And we're just developing that skill a bit more. Okay, the next thing that we're going to look at is delving deeper into connotation and denotation, to ask them whether the piece they liked the most was the same piece that they thought contained the most artistic impression. So we're getting them to think about their own lived experience versus authorial intent, or the artistic intent of the piece. And then again, getting them to move from their lived experience of the real world into the ToK world, we're asking the question, is it more important that the artist expresses their truth, or that they make something that their audience will like? Okay. The next big piece that we're looking at classification and categorization of knowledge, but rather than using those words, we're going to look at things like whether the pictures are better or worse than they expected. Should they be in an art gallery? Should they even be called art? If they were produced by artificial intelligence, would they be art? And then the big question, come up with some criteria for classifying something as art. So here we're looking at principles involved in classification and categorization of knowledge. But again, we're doing it in a really straightforward and really easy way. The next thing that we move on to is looking at the function of art. So, get one of the groups to brainstorm some ways that the pictures could be used. Try to come up with the idea that pictures or artistic knowledge might have a purpose. But first of all, thinking about the value of artistic knowledge in terms of its purpose. And then the bigger question, again, moving from their lived world experience of purpose into the ToK world. Does art need to have a purpose? So here we're moving from things like something to decorate my mobile phone case with, to something that represents civilization and the values that we live for. That sort of big question. Moving on to the final part of this lesson is looking at that idea of the value of art. And we're moving them through this process of the art has a financial or monetary value into art having a non-monetary value, a more inherent or intrinsic value. I find that students often start with a financial value and then develop their understanding of more non-monetary values of art. Okay, those are very big sections to do, and what I would do is I would get each group to look at maybe just one of those slides and to brainstorm the answers and to feed back to the rest of the class. As I say, it's very, very straightforward ways to develop the skills needed, and it's looking at it in AoK The Arts, but it's not giving them content. It's not reading through big long tracts of things that have been written in venerable magazines or journals or articles. It's trying to keep ToK a non-threatening, low-stakes, fun group work lesson at this point early in DP1. And that's it. I mean, that lesson could go on for a long time. There's a lot to unpack. And if you can get your group talking, then those discussions for each of those slides could go on for a very long time. A lot of things could be brought out there. I hope that you found that useful. I hope that it's a good way for you to introduce AoK The Arts, and you can build on that and get the students to do some independent learning from that. If you did find it useful, then a like, a comment, a share, a subscribe is free, and it really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. For the moment, all that's left for me to say is stay ToKtastic. Bye.